spoke on the earlier video about perfection in terms of exposure, and I'm really happy with this exposure. But let's just say, for instance, you're working for a client and the final look's maybe not down to you, it's not your express choice, or maybe just creatively at this point you want to add a little more contrast into your picture without wanging a slider around and maintaining the way of working as keeping control of everything you're doing. So the way we can do that is by using a mask and our curves. Now, curves, you'll see, you hear a lot of people, you see a lot of tutorials on YouTube, bad tutorials I may have, where they'll show you the curves like this. Let's just expand this a little bit. They'll show you the curves like this, and they'll say, make an S-curve. So they'll go, oh, they'll go like that. Oh, yeah, nice. And then they'll go, oh yeah, oh, well, look at that, it's great. And what you're doing there, apart from under and over exposing it, is you've completely changed the colour that you've spent the last 10 minutes fixing and making sure it's right. The colour's a mile off now. You can tell she's gone yellowy orange. So we don't do that. But many people teach you, some of it quite subtly, how to do the old S-curve. But we're not interested in S-curves here because you've got no control over it. It makes bad pictures. It undoes all the good work you've just done. And it's just crap, basically. So what we're going to do is find a methodical way to do it in minor percentages so we can fine-tune and tweak as much as we want our exposure, our contrast on our pictures. Yeah? And the brightness, if you like. So the first thing you're going to do is you open curves straight out of the crate. So I'm just going to get rid of that and show you what I did. Go into the layers palette, click on the black and white circle to get the adjustment layers and go for curves. Now, straight out of the curves, it's set up incorrectly for you to do anything in a methodical way. It's set up to wang it around, but we don't want to do that. So if we click on these three little lines here and go to curve display options, you'll see that it's out of the box, or out of the crate, it's set to light. We need to change it to pigment ink percentage. That then allows us to use percentages to add brightness. Click OK, and now what we do is we just click in the center there. We make sure our input and output, and then all we're really interested in is adjusting our output. And you'll see, if I move this off to the side, click in output, if I use the arrow up and down key, I can change that up a percent at a time. Yeah? Either way I want. Now, the only trouble we're doing it this way is we're making a slight change to the colour, and when we're adding brightness, it's brightening the whole picture, not just the bright areas. We want to control the shadows, the midtones, and the highlights. So if we're brightening highlights, we only want to brighten highlights, and vice versa. So what we're going to do is we're going to load a mask in, and we're just going to put that in the bin. And we're going to load something in called the Luminosity mask. Luminosity. And it's basically, imagine the mask is loaded in and the mask secures all the work you've done so far. It secures the colour, the tone, all that is secured. And all you're going to do then is either brighten or darken those bits. It doesn't alter anything. When you're doing the highlights, it doesn't alter the shadows and vice versa because you've got a mask maintaining what you've done. That makes sense? So all we do is we press Control on the keyboard or Command if you're on a Mac, click on RGB there, and you'll see it's loaded a mask in, the Luminosity mask. Then we're going to go back to the Layers palette, we're going to select Curves, we're going to click in the center again, if I can get in the center, almost. We're going to start at 50%, and I'm going to hold the Shift key down this time on my keyboard and press the arrow down key to add 20%. Now I know I've slightly overexposed that here, but bear with me, this is just a demonstration. And you'll see as I did that, it's only affecting highlighted areas, not the shadowy areas. Okay? Just the highlights. Little bit of midtones, but no shadows. Okay? So I'm going to go 15% on that, to be safe. He says. I'm going to close that down. Now, to do the shadows and the midtones, we need to make a reverse copy of this, or an inverted copy of this. Alright? So all we're going to do is we're going to press Control and J on the keyboard, Control J to copy that layer, and then Control and I to invert that layer. And you've now got a polar opposite of what we had before. Okay? We open that up, and this time, instead of clicking at 50, we're just going to bring that back to 50. And instead of in the output going plus, this time we're going to go minus. We're going to add like that, and you can see the darkness is moving, but the highlight isn't. Make sense? So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on that. So you can see now, I've got the original picture there. I've added 15% highlight, and I've then 5% shadow. What that's done is made it a massively more contrasty picture. Much more contrasty. Now, if that's what you want, that's what your client want, that's great. It's hard to do it. Now, I said to you, I know at 15% brightness, I've kind of bleached out the skin a little bit, haven't I? But I like the hair. I like how her hair's kind of like beautiful. So what I'm going to do is, just to reduce that a little bit, but without losing the hair, I'm going to click in the mask on that layer. You remember the bottom layer, curves one, is the one we did for the brightness. I'm going to click in the mask there. I'm going to press B on the keyboard to get the paintbrush tool. I'm going to make sure my paintbrush tool is feathered on the edge, so the hardness completely off. I'm going to drop the opacity on it to 50%, so it doesn't take a big chunk off. It just nicely feathers half of that off, right? And I'm just going to brush down her face like that, see? You see that? If I will Command and Z, undo that. See the brightness come back? I'll brush it again. Just going to take a little bit off that. Like that. Yeah? You can see, just brushed in there. And then if I switch that on and off, you can just see how it's just lifted a little bit, but not quite so much on the face. I might just do one more pass with the brush, just to bring it down a little more. Like that. Yeah? And again, you can see it on the histogram. Just bringing it back a little bit. Yeah? And you can see we're using the histogram. We haven't overexposed because we've got that little bit of space left here. So we still haven't overexposed, but we've added a bit of contrast. And that is how I always add brightness and contrast to my pictures, if after the edit I decide I want some more. Yeah? Simple as that. In fact, if I make a copy of that layer and just squash them into that layer and turn it off, look, you can see that. Lovely picture. More contrasty. Does it add a bit more vavavoom? I think it possibly does. But either way, nice picture. Simple way to do it. Practice that a few times. It becomes second nature. And then you can add that to your workflow. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you hit the bell, you'll be notified of every time I bring another tutorial or podcast. Cheers.